One of the worst things I've ever seen as a hospice nurse was a son who was not allowed to be with his dying mother. And to be brutally honest, it was his own damn fault. My patient was elderly and she had a cardiac condition. She lived with her son, or rather, he lived with her in her house, and he didn't really understand the precarious nature of her condition. He would often push her beyond her limitations, and eventually she ended up falling and breaking a hip. Now, she wasn't on hospice prior to the fall, but because she had a bad heart and she wasn't a surgical candidate, they pretty much just sent her home on hospice. You might be surprised to know that falls with broken hips or broken pelvises are one of the leading causes of death in elderly people. So her son was supposed to be her caregiver, and he was just not doing a very good job. I was going to their house daily and educating ad nauseum about all the things. Reposition to prevent skin breakdown. Make sure that you keep her clean and dry. Don't force food or fluids. He had a terrible practice of using a syringe to put Ensure in her mouth. By the way, never do that because you can cause them to choke. And he was really terrible about giving her pain medications, and she was in so much pain. Her hip was hurting her, as was the bed sore she developed because he refused to turn her because she was in so much pain, because he wouldn't give her the pain medication. She was really suffering, and it was awful. So the social worker and I had a serious conversation with his two sisters, and they went to court and got guardianship over her. So they could have kicked him out of the house. It wasn't his house, but they were his sisters, and they felt bad. He didn't have anywhere to go. So instead, they decided to put her in a nursing home. It wasn't long after we transferred her to the nursing home that she began actively dying. But thankfully, because we got her on some scheduled medications, she became very comfortable. However, her son was visiting there, and he was actually harassing the nurses and getting in between them and his mom and not letting them give her the medication. As a last resort, he was asked to leave and to not come back. So she was there for several days, lingering, and it seemed like one of those situations where she was waiting for something, probably for her baby boy to be able to be with her. But unfortunately, he couldn't come in because he had been just really causing so many problems. He kept coming to visit, and they kept telling him he couldn't come in. And then one day he came while I was there, and they told me he was there, and they were refusing him entrance. So I went out to go talk to him. He was so distraught. He was broken, and I felt really bad for him. And I felt bad for her too, because I did think that she was lingering because she needed him to be able to say goodbye. I put my hands on his shoulders and I looked him in the eye and I said, if I get them to allow you to go in there, you cannot harass the staff. You cannot try to stop them from giving her pain medication because she is in so much pain if she doesn't get it. And you need to understand that she is going to die soon. And no matter how hard it is, you have to let her go. So he agreed, and the nursing home agreed to let him in. And he sat quietly next to the bed and held her hand and told her that he loved her and told her that he would miss her. And he told her goodbye. And not long after that, she took her last breath and he was at her side.